Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for Deltascape version 3.0. This is the third encounter in the brand new raid made available by patch 4.01 in Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood. I won't play games with you as this fight is my favorite of the expansion so far, and I feel like it really levels the playing field for fights to come. My name is MTQ and I'll be your raid guide. When the boss casts RIBBIT, she will turn towards someone and throw out a very large frontal cone. Anyone hit by it will be turned into a frog. This will happen throughout the encounter, and for the most part you want to avoid this. SPELLBLADE Thunder 3 is a long column attack on a random player. It will do high damage and place a paralysis and vulnerability up debuff on anyone hit. Avoid this as necessary. SPELLBLADE Holy will mark up one player with a stack up marker and two others with these orange Holy Edge markers. Everyone but the Holy Edge player should stack to share the damage of Holy Blur. SPELLBLADE Blizzard 3 is a point blank AoE attack. Move out of melee range to avoid. SPELLBLADE Fire 3 is a donut attack with safe zones at max range or very close to melee range. This will place a burning and vulnerability up debuff on players hit. When the boss casts Place Dark Token, a number of Soul Reaper ads will spawn around the room. These will throw out large point blank AoE indicators that should be avoided. The Queen's Waltz will throw out thin cone AoE attacks on all players, similar to everyone's favorite Heavensward fight. Players can bait these and then spread to the safe zones as necessary. When she casts the Playing Field, 4 tiles will spawn in the center of the room with specific role icons. Players will need to stand in their appropriate tile before she casts the game, or you will take insane damage and be afflicted with Baln Up and Damage Down debuffs. Panel Swap will change the floor to dark tiles and blue tiles. In this phase, Queen's Waltz will do moderate raid-wide AoE damage and cause all of the dark tiles to explode, dealing damage and debuffing players standing on them. To avoid this, make sure you're standing on the blue tiles. This Place Token cast will spawn a Great Dragon ad. This should be picked up and destroyed as soon as possible. This dragon has a large frontal cone breath and should be faced away from the group. Remember to stand on the blue tiles to avoid the tile explosion while all of this is happening. You'll need to dodge AoE attacks here as well. Mind Jack will force players to run in the directions specified in the cast. Right and left face will force you to run either right or left respectively. About face will force you to run backwards, and forward march will force you to run forward. This attack is immediately followed by the Queen's Waltz, and players need to ensure they position their characters in such a way that they are still on the blue tiles during their march and the tile explosions to avoid excess damage. Next up, you'll need to avoid RIBBIT. Remember that this is a fairly large cone, so you'll need to move behind her or far away to avoid it. Place Dark Token will again spawn a number of Soul Reaper ads that throw out same large AoEs. Avoid these as necessary. Players will be marked for Holy Edge here too, and while it may look scary, you can wait for the Soul Reaper AoEs to land first before spreading out to avoid overlapping Holy Edge. Don't spread out too far as the Queen's Waltz is coming up again. Make sure you're on the blue tiles to avoid that dark tile explosion. Eventually, the boss will cast Ethereal Tear and disappear to take her tea. Players will be pulled into this escape minigame, placed in one of 2 starting points, and will need to maneuver themselves back through the rift. If you do it fast enough, you'll be rewarded with haste and damage up buffs, and since the pattern appears to be the same every time, it's a simple matter of memorizing the path. Once out, the encounter will continue. Be careful here as enmity will reset, so tanks be ready to regain top threat as soon as possible. For the next playing field, she'll cast RIBBIT before casting the game. All players must avoid this as a frog fits neither of the roles and will be unable to avoid the attack. After RIBBIT, make sure you're on the appropriate tile. The next SPELLBLADE Holy will be paired with a Mind Jack. Since you'll be forced to march in a specific direction, but you still want to stay stacked to share the damage, I would recommend all players to stack together and all face the boss during this time. Since everyone is facing in the same direction, they'll move together in the direction specified by Mind Jack and should remain stacked together to share that damage. She'll cast SPELLBLADE Thunder 3 immediately after here as well, so be ready to dodge it. The next Place Dark Token will spawn a number of Soul Reaper ads around the outer perimeter of the room. These will cast large column attacks across the platform. One specific tile will be the safe zone, and players will need to move to this immediately to avoid damage and debuffs. Be ready to immediately avoid SPELLBLADE Blizzard 3 once those attacks go out. The next playing field will form 4 frog tiles. In this case, players will deliberately want to be turned into frogs by RIBBIT. Remember that she does turn to face someone before casting RIBBIT, so make sure you're in front of her to be turned into a frog. Once you're a frog, Stand on one of the tiles to avoid that damage. Dimensional Wave will deal high raid-wide damage and should be healed through as necessary. The next combo of attacks will have Spellblade Holy, a Spellblade Fire 3, and a Queen's Waltz. Avoid the Fire 3 in either melee or max range. The Holy Edge players will run away while everyone else stacks in a safe place to share the holy damage. Remember that you can bait the Queen's Waltz AoEs away before stacking in to give yourself a bit more room to deal with everything. At this point, all of these combo of mechanics will repeat. Handle each set in the same manner and you'll have her down in no time. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Up next, we'll head into Deltascape version 4.0. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.